that was seriously, Ryan, that was a theme. Maybe it was working overtime. It was good to a certain degree that it was like, okay, a little bit too thematic, laying it on a little bit too thick. But, you know, I find that this is all such an imperfect science. And speaking of science, we were talking about something absolutely crucial to this case. What really got it all started in terms of national outrage was, they say the medium is the message. That was Marshall McLuhan, right? Who said it's not just what you say, it's how you say it and the vehicle you use to say it. And there was a sense, and I'll throw this out to political science professor Jason Johnson, that there was a tremendous insensitivity in how the message was delivered when they initially decided that because of stand your ground or for whatever other legal reason, they felt, the powers that be here in Sanford, that they could not file charges against George Zimmerman.
Look, you have a movie coming out this month called Fruitvale Station about Oscar Grant, about a black man who was shot, who was essentially innocent, you know, at a train station. There is legitimate skepticism on the part of many people in this country of all races that the police pick and choose how they will enforce and how vigorously they will investigate different cases. And again, if you have lost your child, you're going to do anything in your power to find out the truth. And again, we go back to John Guy's closing. If this was reversed, if Trayvon Martin were driving around and followed George Zimmerman, don't you think, I mean, George Zimmerman's parents would say, what do you mean? What do you mean? Our son is dead. He was walking home. So I think this is another example of how we are so free in this country that if we don't like what the police are doing, we have the liberty to complain, to agitate, and see if we can get justice.
So, Jason Johnson, let me touch on that as well. Do you think the verdict in this case is going to adjust that feeling on behalf of groups who feel maligned in that way, who feel like the system doesn't work to their advantage? Do you think a guilty or not guilty will adjust that in any way?
I'll be perfectly honest with you. No. Nothing changes with this verdict. And I know no one wants to hear that, but guess what? If George Zimmerman ends up getting off, for a lot of people will say, oh, a group of Southern white women said it's okay to kill a 17-year-old kid. They're not going to be, nothing's going to change. If George Zimmerman is found guilty, then it means that, okay, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, the president, and the Justice Department had to get involved to get local cops to do their due diligence. There's no victory here for either side politically. So I don't think anyone's attitudes are going to change. Maybe a family will be relieved, either side, but the verdict's not going to change people's attitudes.
Mike Brooks, HLN law enforcement analyst, weigh in here because you deal with law enforcement, and the suggestion is that, well, they certainly mishandled the communication, that they didn't feel they had enough charges. Irrespective of whether they had enough charges or not, it was also how they communicated that message.
Look, Jane, right from the very beginning, Ryan and myself, Vinny, I was one of the biggest critics of the Sanford Police Department on what they were doing or what they weren't doing in this particular case. But then as more discovery started coming out, we saw that, yeah, they were going through the neighborhood. Yes, they were interviewing people. Yes, they were taking statements. But the problem is, did they have at that time, because of the laws in Florida, did they have enough probable cause to arrest George Zimmerman at that particular time? So, I think Chief Lee, he basically got thrown under the bus because he was the one that came out there. And keep in mind, Detective Serino originally